He left me for someone better. Years later, our paths crossed again. I loved him with everything I had, the kind of love that kept me awake at night and made me stumble through days hoping he felt the same. Caleb was magnetic. Everyone gravitated toward him. I was quieter, more cautious, the kind of person who never stood out in a crowd. Somehow he had noticed me in college, smiled at me and convinced me that maybe luck had finally chosen me. It started well. Our first few months were filled with late-night talks, walks around campus and the quiet comfort of shared jokes. But as time passed, I noticed the cracks. Caleb's compliments always had a hint of condescension. His humor was sharp, cutting when it came to my appearance, my clothes, my habits. He joked I was too simple, too plain, too predictable. He never realized how much it hurt. Then she came into the picture. Everything Caleb claimed to value, the flashy lifestyle, the endless parties, the attention of everyone around, she embodied. I noticed his gaze linger on her. I noticed the way he whispered her name under his breath when I wasn't looking. He didn't leave me immediately, but I could feel the shift, like ice creeping into the room we once shared. When he finally left, he didn't do it gently. He said he needed someone better. Someone more exciting, more glamorous, more like Nicole. I didn't beg. I didn't plead. I just nodded and let him walk out of my life. I cried later, silently, alone, letting the pain sharpen me instead of breaking me. The months that followed were hard. I threw myself into my work, picking up every extra shift, staying late into the nights and learning how to make a name for myself. I moved out, furnished my apartment with things I actually loved, and carved a life from the fragments of the one Caleb had left behind. Years passed and I rarely thought of him. I didn't need to. My life became too full of deadlines, clients, promotions, and the hum of independence to make room for ghosts. Until the day our paths crossed again. I was at a business conference, representing my company, explaining a new project to a group of potential investors. I had my presentation memorized, my suit tailored perfectly, and my confidence radiating in a way I didn't recognize I had until I saw their reactions. And then he appeared. He had changed, but not entirely. He still carried that same aura of self-assurance, but now there was tension in his shoulders, fatigue in his eyes. Nicole wasn't with him. He froze when he saw me, clearly taken aback, as though the universe had slammed the brakes on him in the middle of his life. He asked my name quietly, disbelief in his voice. He said I looked successful, powerful, like life had treated me better than he had. I let him see my smile, small, polite, but sharp enough to cut. He tried to explain that things didn't work out with Nicole, that she wasn't who he thought she was, that he had made mistakes. He attempted to ask if we could catch up, if we could talk about old times. I didn't answer him. I couldn't. Instead, I let him stare, realizing the full weight of the woman standing before him. The woman he once dismissed as too simple, too predictable, too ordinary. He had expected me to still be waiting, still vulnerable, still small. But I wasn't. I never would be. I told him I don't go backward. I don't revisit mistakes. I don't let people back into my life who once chose someone else over me. Caleb swallowed, unease written clearly on his face. He opened his mouth to speak again, but I walked away, heels clicking against the floor, head held high. I let him watch me leave, and I let him see what he had lost. Not just me, but the woman I had become, because he had underestimated me. Later I thought about how ironic it was. He left me for someone better, and in doing so he set me on a path to becoming someone unstoppable. He thought he had upgraded. He hadn't. He lost. And for the first time in years I felt the sweet taste of triumph. I didn't look back. Not once. Not because I was heartless, but because I had learned exactly how much power I held now. Over my own life, over my own happiness, and over the remnants of someone who once tried to diminish me. Caleb would remember this encounter for a long time. He would replay my calm confidence, my unshakable composure, my refusal to fall back into the patterns of the past. And he would know, truly know, that leaving me had been the biggest mistake of his life. A few weeks after the conference, Caleb found a way into my world again. Not through calls or messages, he sent someone to deliver a contract proposal. A partnership, he said, for a project that needed my expertise. I read the cover letter and smiled. He thought I'd jump. He thought I needed him. I didn't. But curiosity, not for him but for what he had become, tugged at me. He had clearly tried to build a life that matched the one he had once wanted with Nicole. Yet the letter was clumsy, the proposal half-baked, mistakes in numbers that anyone competent would notice. He wanted me to fix it, to elevate it, to make him look good. I knew exactly what to do. I scheduled a meeting. The office was sleek, professional, and mine to control. Caleb walked in wearing his usual charm, trying to mask the tension in his shoulders. He smiled nervously when he saw me, that same arrogant, confident smile from years ago. I ignored it. I let him present first. Every time he hesitated, stumbled over details, or missed an obvious error, I leaned back and let him flounder. His pride was fragile and I watched it crumble quietly. After what felt like hours, I finally spoke. Not to help, not to guide, but to correct. Each suggestion was pointed, precise, and highlighted just how incompetent he had been. He swallowed hard at every comment. His face tightened. His voice faltered. By the time we finished, the room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. Caleb's chest heaved slightly as though he had been holding back his entire self. I left him with the report and my parting words were simple. Do better. Or don't. I won't be responsible either way. He nodded, swallowing like he was tasting bile. I left him in that office, alone with the reminder that he had lost the woman who would never tolerate mediocrity. Over the next few months, Caleb tried repeatedly. He emailed. He called. He sent his assistant with coffee or messages of flattery. Each time I let the messages sit. I didn't respond. And each time I watched him struggle quietly in public. I heard from colleagues that his projects were failing because he refused to follow guidance. He wanted validation, wanted the one person he had discarded to approve his every move. But I didn't give it. One evening he cornered me at a networking event. His face was pale, eyes wide, desperation leaking through his carefully constructed charm. He asked to speak privately. I agreed, walking with him to the side of the building where the night air was cool and quiet. He admitted he had made mistakes, not just with me but with life. That Nicole had left him. That he had realized too late how valuable I had been. That he wanted a second chance. I listened, arms crossed, eyes unblinking. Then I told him the truth. Not about Nicole, not about him, not even about what he had lost in numbers or projects. I told him about the years he didn't care. About the nights Liam cried while he partied. About the guilt he had avoided. About the power he thought he owned and the person he destroyed with his choices. Caleb didn't speak. He only stared at me, the words cutting into him deeper than any reprimand I could deliver professionally. Then I handed him a folder. Inside was a document. A proposal. One I had corrected and enhanced so it would succeed. But I had made one small but deliberate change. The project was structured so he would fail without me. I told him he had one chance to present it alone in front of the investors. He could no longer rely on my help. He would either succeed or fail based on his own merit. Caleb's eyes went wide. His jaw tensed. He realized that the power had shifted completely. I left him there, standing in the cold night with the echo of my footsteps behind me. The next week the investors called. Caleb's project collapsed spectacularly. He had underestimated the complexity. He had failed to grasp details I had painstakingly structured. His confidence, once unshakable, was shattered in front of a room full of people who would not forgive mistakes. I heard about it secondhand, not from him but from colleagues. He was humiliated, scrambling to cover for the mess. Every failure, every public stumble was a reminder of the choice he had made years ago. And I smiled quietly to myself. Months later he approached me one last time. Not with proposals, not with contracts, but with a personal message. Caleb admitted he was defeated. He admitted he had lost the woman who had never needed him, never wanted him back, and whose life had flourished while his crumbled. I told him what I had told him all along. I don't go backwards. You lost your chance. Everything else is on you. He nodded, acceptance finally in his expression. No excuses. No charm. Just the weight of truth pressing on him like a physical force. I walked away that night knowing I had not just survived heartbreak. I had turned it into power, into leverage, into vindication. He had left me for someone better, but in reality, I had become someone he could never reach. And that, I realized, was the sweetest revenge of all.